Dear students, continuing in the 25th part. So the claw hand position is otherwise called as intrinsic minus position because intrinsic muscles are not functioning here. Because of that, what happens is the flexor counter to the EDC muscle is not present. Because of that, the what happens is the EDC becomes hyperactive, and then also the interossei and lumbricals. The which muscle, the muscles which are minus or absent in functioning are the interossei and the lumbricals. So here they are absent, their function is absent. So this leads to collapse of the or otherwise called as the hyper excessive extension, and this leads to clawing. Now, in the final part of the extensor mechanism, how the extensor mechanism is influencing the interphalangeal IP joint function. So, the PIP and the DIP joints, that is the proximal interphalangeal and the distal interphalangeal joints, are joined by active and passive forces. Now, you are clear about that. Both active forces and passive forces are acting, and this in forces in such a way that DIP extension and PIP extensions are interdependent. They are dependent to each other. So the PIP joint forces are always affected by the PIP extension. So extension in DIP will go for extension in PIP. So when the PIP joint is actively extended, the DIP joint will also extend. Similarly, active DIP extension will create PIP extension. Actively, when somebody does, you try in your hand, when you actively extend your distal interphalangeal joint, now without you knowing your proximal distal interphalangeal joint, when you extend, naturally we will extend our proximal interphalangeal joint. The interdependence can be understood by examining structural relationship in the extensor mechanism. Each PAP joint is crossed dorsally by the central tendon, lateral bands of the extensor mechanism. So both central tendon and lateral bands are overlapping which the proximal interphalangeal joint, but the lateral bands are only present in the that is a distal DIP joint. The EDC, interossei, lumbrical muscles all have attachment to the hood, central tendon, lateral bands at or proximal to the PAP joint. So at the level of PAP joint, we have all these structures, the EDC, interossei, lumbricals are all attaching to the PAP joint. So that is the central tendon, hood, lateral bands. Consequently, the EDC, interossei, lumbrical muscles are each capable of producing at least some tension in each of the following: the central tendon, the lateral bands, the terminal tendons, resulting in each contributing to some extensor force at the PIP. And naturally, when the PIP is extending, because of the presence of the lateral band, the DIP is also extending. So I hope you understand that because of the presence of and the active interdependence of EDC, interossei, lumbricals, the attachments which we call as the expansion hood, central tendon, lateral bands of the EDC. So here we are separating the EDC tendon. Again, the EDC tendon's part, which is the distal part, is central tendon, lateral bands. Again, we are using and we are saying that because of this presence, interdependent presence, there is whenever there is the contraction of these muscles, PAP extension is happening. Also, because of that, the passive and active contraction, uh, extension of distal interphalangeal joints are also happening. So simply, students, you can say while completing the extensor, the expansion, now we will go the next. We are going to the intrinsic muscles of the hand. Before going to that, simply putting, you can say that the PAP joint and the DAP joints always function as functional coupling. They function as functional coupling of PAP and DAP joint action can be demonstrated by one other PAP DAP joint relation. Three relationship clearly you can check in your hand also. Now see, take your right hand, active extension of the proximal interphalangeal joint. Take the index finger or any finger. When you take a middle finger, you are extending the middle finger or the ring finger. When you extend the proximal interphalangeal joint, normally your distal interphalangeal joint will go for extension. That is one relationship. Now do active or passive flexion of the DIP. DIP try to flex DIP active or distal interphalangeal joint. Passive flexion or active flexion of DIP, what will happen? You will initiate flexion of the PAP. That is also which will happen somehow. Third point is full flexion of the proximal interphalangeal joint actively or passively will prevent the DAP joint from being actively extended. When you do just with your finger, just press your take the index finger and press your this one, what is called as the PAP joint. Active full flexion of the PAP joint will prevent the DIP joint from being actively extended. It will prevent. So we will try to. So passive, I will not advise passively, because for the index finger, because you have the extensor indices. So take to the other two fingers and try this. When you try with the middle finger and the ring finger, try to passively flex, you will see that the finger, the distal DAP joint is going for flexion. This is applicable for all the muscles except the index finger. Here when you do that, now there is a possibility you can slightly extend, but still active extension is not at all possible. These are the three relationships which we have understood. This you can tell anyone, but now you know the mechanism. After understanding all this, you know why this is happening, which all muscles are actively participating, which are muscles are passively participating, and the structures like the junctura tendina and the the extensor expansion, the retinacular ligaments, all those are giving passive tension, and you have understood the mechanism. Thank you. Submit the assignment within 3 to 4 days after this class. Thank you.